Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 17, Text number 12, word for word. Kaha Avrishchat Tava Padan Trin Surabhyaya Chatupada Ma Bhuvan Tvadrisha Rashtre Ragyam Krishna Anuvartinam Kovrishtava Parangstrin Saurabhyeya Chatushpadam Ma Bhuvangstradrisharastre Ragyam Krishnanuvartinam Kovrishtava Parangstrin Saurabhyeya Chatushpada Ma Bhuvangstradrisharastre Ragyam Krishnanuvartinam Kovrishtava Parangstrin Saurabhyeya Chatushpada Ma Bhuvangstradrisharastre Ragyam Krishnanuvartinam
Kovishchatava Padangstrin Saurabheya Chatushpada Ma Bhuvangstradrisharastre Ragyam
Krishnanuvartinam
Kovrishtava Padangstrin
Kovrishtava Parangstrin
Saurabheya Chatushpada
Saurabheya Chatushpada
Ma Bhuvangstradrisharastre
Ma Bhuvangstradrisharastre
Ragyam Krishnanuvartinam
Ragyam Krishnanuvartinam
Kovrishtava Padangstrin
Kovrishtava Padangstrin
Surabheya Chatushpada
Surabhya Chatushpada
Ma Bhuvangstradrisharastre
Ma Bhuvangstradrisharastre
Ragyam Krishnanuvartinam
Ragyam Krishnanuvartinam
Kovrishtava Padangstrin
Kovrishtava Padangstrin
Saurabheya Chatushpada
Saurabhya Chatushpada
Mahabhuvam Stvadrisharastre
Mahabhuvangstradrisharastre
Ragyam Krishnanuvartinam
Ragyam Krishnanuvartinam
Kovishchatava Padangstrin
Kovrishtava Padangstrin
Sarvabheya Chatushpada
Saurabhya Chatushpada
Ma Bhuvangstradrisharastre
Mabhuvang Stradisharashtre
Pragyam Krishna Vartanam.
Ragyam Krishnanuvartanam
Kovrishatava Padam Shrin
Govishya Padatarangstrin
Sorabheya Chatushpada
Sarabhyayascha Pushpada
Mabhuvam Tvadrisharastre
Mabhuvang Stradisharashtre
Ragyam Krishna Nuvartantinam.
Ragyam Krishnanuvartanam
Kovrischattava padam strin
Govishya Padatavangstrin
Saurabheya chatushpada
Sarabhyayascha Pushpada
Mabhuvam stvadrasa rastre
Mabhuvang Stradisharashtre
Rajñam Krishnanuvartinam
Ragyam Krishnanuvartanam
Kovishchatava Padam Strin
Govishchat Padatavangstrin
Saurabheya Chatushpada
Sarabhyayascha
Mahabhuvang Stvadisharastre Ragyam Krishnanuvartanam
Krishnanuvartanam
Kovrishat tava padam strin
Govishchat Padatavangstrin
Surya veya chatushpada
Sarabhyayascha
Mabhuvam stwadrisharastre
Madhurang Stravasvaratrin
Ragyam Krishna Nuvartitam
Ragam Krishna Nuvartinam
Chattavapadam
Strin
Swarabheya Chatushpada Abhuvam Stadvisharastre
Madhurang Stravasvaratrin
Rajam Krishnanuvartina
Ragam Krishna Nuvartinam
Kovishchatava padam strin
Krishna Padatavang Strin
Saurabheya chatuspada
Indriya Chatushpada
Mabhuvam tvadrisharastre Ragyam Krishnanuvartinam
Ragam Krishna Nuvartinam Online chanters
Kovishchatava padam strin
Hovishchat Padatvarang Strin
Sorabheya chatushpada
Sorabhya Chuspada
Mabhuvam stvadvisharastre
Mabhuvang Stradisharastre
Ragyam Krishnanuvartinam
Ragam Krishnanuvartinam
Kovrishatava padam strin
Kovishchatava Padang Strin
Sorabheya chatushpada
Sorabhya Chatushpada
Abhuvam stradrisharastre
Mabhuvang Stradisharastre
Rajam Krishna Nivartinam.
Ragam Krishnanuvartinam Kaha. Who is he? Avrishchat, cut off. Tava, your. Padan, legs. Chin, 3. Sarabhyeya, O son of Sarabhi. Chatupada, you are 4-legged. Ma, never to be. Bhuvan, it so happened. Twadrishaha, as yourself. Rashtre, in the state. Ragyam, of the kings. Krishna Anuvartinam, those who follow the codes of Krishna. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. He, Maharaj Parikshit, repeatedly addressed and questioned the bull thus, O son of Surabhi, who has cut off your 3 legs? In the state of the kings who are obedient to the laws of the Supreme Personality Godhead, Krishna, there is no one as unhappy as you. Purport. The kings or the executive heads of all states must know the codes of Lord Krishna, generally Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and must act accordingly in order to fulfill the mission of human life, which is to make an end to all miseries of material conditions. One who knows the codes of Lord Krishna can achieve this end without any difficulty. In Bhagavad Gita, in a synopsis, we can understand the codes of Godhead, and in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the same codes are explained further. In a state where the codes of Krishna are followed, no one is unhappy. Where such codes are not followed, the first sign is that 3 legs of the representative of religion are cut off. And thereby all miseries follow. When Krishna was personally present, the codes of Krishna were being followed without question. But in his absence, such codes are presented in pages of Srimad Bhagavatam for the guidance of the blind persons who happen to be at the helm of all affairs. Om Jnanatam Randasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chakshuru Muditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. He, Maharaj Parikshit, repeatedly addressed and questioned the bull thus, O son of Surabhi, who has cut off your 3 legs? In the state of the kings who are obedient to the laws of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, there is no one as unhappy as you.
Haribol.
Haribol.
I'd like to comment that these verses are all quite similar, which we've been reading for a long time now. I would suggest we go and read all the verses and purports up till text 18, which gives a different perspective, and we could speak on that. But that's up to you if you want to do it that way, or want to go one by one as you wish.
I was thinking just that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't know 18, but I was thinking to read more. So yeah, let's read. Yes, let's read till 18.
Okay.
Because I only had the same things in mind I spoke about last week. Okay, so text 13. O bull, you are offenseless and thoroughly honest. Therefore, I wish all good to you. Please tell me of the perpetrator of these mutilations which blackmail the reputation of the sons of Pritha. Purport. The reputation of the reign of Maharaj Ramachandra and that of the kings who followed in the footsteps of Maharaj Ramachandra, like the Pandavas and their descendants, are never to be forgotten, because in their kingdom offenseless and honest living beings were never in trouble. The bull and the cow are the symbols of the most offenseless living beings, because even the stool and urine of these animals are utilized to benefit human society. The descendants of the sons of Pritha, like Maharaj Parikshit, were afraid of losing their reputations. But in the modern days, the leaders are not even afraid of killing such offenseless animals. Herein lies the difference between the reign of those pious kings and the modern states ruled by irresponsible executive heads without knowledge of the codes of God. Text 14. Whoever causes offenseless living beings to suffer must fear me anywhere and everywhere in the world. By curbing dishonest miscreants, one automatically benefits the offenseless. Purport. Dishonest miscreants flourish because of cowardly and impotent executive heads of state. But when the executive heads are strong enough to curb all sorts of dishonest miscreants in any part of the state, certainly they cannot flourish. When the miscreants are punished in an exemplary manner, automatically all good fortune follows. As said before, it is the prime duty of the king or the executive head to give protection in all respects to the peaceful, offenseless citizens of the state. The devotees of the Lord are by nature peaceful and offenseless, and therefore it is the prime duty of the state to arrange to convert everyone to become a devotee of the Lord. Thus, automatically there will be peaceful, offenseless citizens. Then the only duty of the king will be to curb the dishonest miscreants. That will bring about peace and harmony all over human society. Text 15. An upstart living being who commits offenses by torturing those who are offenseless shall be directly uprooted by me, even though he be a denizen of heaven with armor and decorations. Purport. The denizens of the heavenly kingdom are called amara, or deathless, due to their possessing a long span of life, far greater than that of the human beings. For a human being who has only a maximum 100-year duration of life, a span of life spreading over millions of years is certainly considered to be deathless. For example, from the Bhagavad Gita, we learn that on the Brahmaloka planet, the duration of one day is calculated to be 4,300,000 years times 1,000 solar years. Similarly, in other heavenly planets, one day is calculated to be 6 months of this planet, and the inhabitants get a life of 10 million of their years. Therefore, in all higher planets, since the span of life is far greater than that of the human being, the denizens are called deathless by imagination, although actually no one within the material universe is deathless. Maharaj Parikshit challenges even such denizens of heaven if they torture the offenseless. This means that the state executive head must be as strong as Maharaj Parikshit so that he may be determined to punish the strongest offenders. It should be the principle of the state executive head that the offender of the codes of God is always punished. Text 16. The supreme duty of the ruling king is to give all protection to law-abiding persons and to chastise those who stray from the ordinances of the scriptures in ordinary times, when there is no emergency. Purport. In the scriptures, there is mention of apadharma, or occupational duty, at times of extraordinary happenings. It is said that sometimes the great sage Vishwamrita had to live on the flesh of dogs in some extraordinary, dangerous position. In cases of emergency, one may be allowed to live on the flesh of animals of all description. But that does not mean that there should be regular slaughterhouses to feed the animal eaters, and that this system should be encouraged by the state. No one should try to live on flesh in ordinary times simply for the sake of the palate. If anyone does so, the king or the executive head should punish him for gross duties, and one who follows them is called swadharmasta, or faithful in one's prescribed duties. In the Bhagavad Gita, 1848, it is advised that one should not give up his occupational prescribed duties, even if they are not always flawless. Such swadharma might be violated in cases of emergency if one is forced by circumstances, but they cannot be violated in ordinary times. The state executive head is to see that such swadharma is not changed by the follower, whatever it may be, and he should give all protection to the follower of swadharma. The violator is subject to punishment in terms of the Shastra, and the duty of the king is to see that everyone strictly follows his occupational duty as prescribed in the scripture. Text 17. The personality of religion said, "These words just spoken by you befit a person of the Pandava dynasty. Captivated by the devotional qualities of the Pandavas, even Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, performed duties as a messenger." Purport. The assurances and challenges made by Maharaj Parikshit are never exaggerations of his real power. The Maharaj said that even the denizens of heaven could not escape his stringent government if they were violators of the religious principles. He was not falsely proud, for a devotee of the Lord is equally as powerful as the Lord, or sometimes more powerful by his grace. And any promise made by a devotee, though it may be ordinarily very difficult to fulfill, is properly executed by the grace of the Lord. The Pandavas, by their unalloyed devotional service and full surrender unto the Lord, made it possible for the Lord to become a chariot driver, or sometimes their letter messenger. Such duties executed by the Lord for his devotee are always very pleasing to the Lord, because the Lord wants to render service to his unalloyed devotee, whose life has no other engagement than to serve the Lord with full love and devotion. Maharaj Parikshit, the grandson of Arjuna, the celebrated friendly servitor of the Lord, was a pure devotee of the Lord like his grandfather, and therefore the Lord was always with him, even from the time when he was helplessly lying in the womb of his mother and was attacked by the blazing Brahmastra weapon of Ashwatthama. A devotee is always under the protection of the Lord, and therefore the assurance of protection by Maharaj Parikshit could never be without meaning. The personality of religion accepted this fact and thus thanked the king for his being true to his exalted position. Okay, are you ready? Text number 18. O greatest among human beings, it is very difficult to ascertain the particular miscreant who has caused our sufferings, because we are bewildered by all the different opinions of theoretical philosophers. Purport. There are many theoretical philosophers in the world who put forward their own theories of cause and effect, especially about the cause of suffering and its effect on different living beings. Generally, there are 6 great philosophers: Kanada, the author of Vaisheshika philosophy; Gautama, the author of logic; Patanjali, the author of mystic yoga; Kapila, the author of Sankhya philosophy; Jaimini, the author of Karma Mimamsa; and Vyasadeva, the author of Vedanta Darshana. Although the bull, or the personality of religion, and the cow, the personality of the earth, knew perfectly well that the personality of Kali was the direct cause of their sufferings, still, as devotees of the Lord, they knew well also that without the sanction of the Lord, no one could inflict trouble upon them. According to the Padma Purana, our present trouble is due to the fructifying of seedling sins. But even those seedling sins also gradually fade away by execution of pure devotional service. Thus, even if the devotees see the mischief mongers, they do not accuse them for the sufferings inflicted. They take it for granted that the mischief monger is made to act by some indirect cause, and therefore they tolerate the sufferings, thinking them to be God-given in small doses. For otherwise the sufferings should have been greater. Maharaj Parikshit wanted to get a statement of accusation against the direct mischief monger, but they declined to give it on the above-mentioned grounds. Speculative philosophers, however, do not recognize the sanction of the Lord. They try to find out the cause of sufferings in their own way, as will be described in the following verses. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, such speculators are themselves bewildered, and thus they cannot know that the ultimate cause of all causes is the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada Jai. Hare Krishna. So, we just read a couple verses and a couple purports. So leading up to these last two verses was about more or less the same theme. The kings are supposed to understand and know the codes of religion, or the codes of the Supreme Personality God, as it says, Krishna Nivartinam. And Srila Prabhupada explains that basically they need to understand Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which are this topmost codes of religion, right? Paradharma. So, Lord Chaitanya instructs that whoever you see, whoever you come in contact with, to preach the messages, preach the instructions of Krishna as given in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is the instruction that we have to do that. So in order to preach Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, what do we have to do? Yes, we have to know Srimad Bhagavatam and know Bhagavad Gita. We have to study and we have to read. And of course, we are doing that every day. We have a Bhagavad Gita class, Srimad Bhagavatam class. So Srila Prabhupada gave us this morning evening program so we can sufficiently hear about these two essential books, Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So, Srila Prabhupada's life work, you could say, was basically Srimad Bhagavatam. He spent most years was focusing on his preaching of Srimad Bhagavatam and translating, writing, and so how important is it, right? So we ourselves have to know the codes of Krishna by studying the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Then we can actually give that knowledge to others. And it's actually so relishable, the messages of Krishna. And so people can relish it as well when we give it to them, because as it was mentioned, this is the perfection of human life, is to transcend these miseries. This is the purpose of the human form. And so that's all explained in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So the king administrator is supposed to know, and he gets his knowledge from the Brahmanas. He's also educated. Vedic scriptures, like Arjuna was actually a highly educated person. And then they get counsel from the Brahmanas so that they understand how to apply these shastras. And then these Kshatriyas are supposed to be very powerful, like Maharaj Parikshit saying, he wants to cut out whoever is the perpetrator and give punishment, because this is his duty, and this is what will be good for the citizens. Yeah, it was an interesting point about how abominable it is to hurt or to exploit offenseless and honest creatures, offenseless creatures like the cow. Does Maharaj have a comment?
Yes. Thank you. The point in text 18 is that a Vaishnava, even though many things happen to him, and it seems that there are culprits who cause them. Someone steals from his house, so he can naturally accuse the thief, and he can try to make arrangements for the thief to be punished. But a Vaishnava, because he sees the Lord's hand in everything, he doesn't take it that this culprit or this apparent culprit is actually the cause of stealing, because he knows that everyone receives the results of their own past deeds, as described here. Their seedling sins, they come in the form of seeds or seeds that are about to flourish, or seeds that are lying in wait for future suffering. Everything's all stacked up. So that's why sometimes in the Vedic culture, it's said that one is acting under karma, and it appears that he has no ability to change anything because it's already set. Destiny is set. So to some extent that is correct. There is a certain future that every person can expect in this particular life. And those who know the science of astrology, they can analyze very carefully what one's past deeds were and what are the reactions that the person is supposed to receive as a result of those past deeds, and how he will receive them in this lifetime. It's very interesting. People like to know what's going to happen to me. And for the materialist, it is clear that such and such thing will happen. He will get this much money. He will live this long. He will have so many, he will have to meet so many unfortunate events, fortunate events. So the devotee is not much interested in these things because sometimes devotees would ask Prabhupada about astrology, whether they could use astrology. And he explained that it is a bona fide science. One who knows astrology can tell past, present, and future to some extent. However, a Vaishnava knows that if something is ordained to happen to me, it's ordained by God. And that's fine with him, because as long as it's approved by the Lord, he has no objection. Just like, for example, let's say someone's working in a big company and someone comes to him and says, we got orders from the top head of the department that you're supposed to go and pick up the delivery today. So he says, okay, fine. As long as it's approved by his higher ups or the highest authority, he has no objection to do whatever they ask him to do. This is how a devotee sees everything in life. Krishna has arranged this for me. He doesn't complain because he knows that it could have been much worse. The Lord is so kind. I could have had to suffer. If he gets a little cut on his finger, he thinks, I could have had my arm lopped off. That's what I deserve for all my misdeeds. But instead, the Lord is so kind, he's just giving me a little token punishment of cutting my finger. Therefore, he never complains about seemingly unfortunate things. And that's the example of the bull and the cows, that even though they're so perpetrated and so tortured, still they don't complain and they don't accuse anyone. And the Vaishnavas are like that, pure in all circumstances and ready to take whatever comes to them as a result of their past misdeeds. Srila Prabhupada, in one of his Vyas Puja offerings to his spiritual master, said, "And let me suffer the lot for my past misdeeds, which I am destined to do for many crores of births. But give me the power of recollection, that I always remember the mercy of my spiritual master and remember the lotus feet of the Lord." So he was prepared to suffer the lot for which he deserved for many lifetimes. But he just wanted to be able to engage in whatever circumstance he was put in the service of the Lord. And a devotee can do that in any circumstance. He can serve the Lord, whether it's by chanting or hearing or remembering. Some way or other he can serve the Lord to his best capacity. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Are there any comments or questions? Yes, Bhakta Jacob?
Hare Krishna, thanks for the nice class and also for the nice comments by Maharaj. I just had a quick little, Reen and I were talking about this prayer last night that a devotee in New Vrindavan would always say in connection with this, and it's, Prabhupada would say it too, Krishna Mare Ke, Mare Krishna Rake, or Rake Krishna Mare Ke, Mare Krishna Rake Ke. If Krishna wants to kill somebody, Krishna does not, he will kill them if he wants to be killed, and if he doesn't want them to be killed, he will be killed. And that's a nice reflection. Yeah, anyway, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, thank you. Okay, so it appears that Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Did I already do that? No? Anyway, so I was going to just talk